have over 100 patients with Hashimoto's specifically, and the ones that go on a carnivore diet, not even a full line diet, the ones that do a full line diet, just red meat and water, do far better. But everyone doing a carnivore diet, the antibodies come right down. You can measure them. You see a number next to them. That number comes down, and eventually that goes to undetectable. So what you want to do really is you want to go on a carnivore diet, really a lion diet for the Hashimoto's. Autoimmune issues go away on carnivore diets. Any autoimmune issue, you want to stick to red meat and water, high fat, red meat and water, beef and lamb. That's it. Don't have anything else. Optimize your sleep and prioritize your sleep. Don't just, oh yeah, I'll get to whatever, I can deal with it. Don't do that. Get 8 hours of sleep a night. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining my YouTube live for April 10th in Australia, April 9th in the US. Just got my little boy here and looking forward to talking to you guys and answering some questions. So thank you, everyone, for joining. And we already had some super chats on, so I'll get to those. I have about an hour and a half, so I have to finish around noon my time here in Perth. So that's about an hour and a half, and so we will get to as many questions as we can in that time. Question from Beth Rademacher. Besides sprints, what is the best cardio? Is it walking? Also, how to lift weights without getting bulky? When I eat a lot of protein, that tends to happen. Thank you. Well, your body's going to sort of respond in a specific way, so you can sort of see what you want to do for the sort of results you want to get. Sprinting can just develop your muscles and develop your musculature and physique in ways similar to lifting weights, but not. But you don't actually have to lift weights. I mean, you look at like Olympic sprinters. They look like bodybuilders, and yet they don't lift weights. They're trying to stay light and lean, so they can go fast. So they're not lifting a bunch of weights. They're not doing a whole bunch of upper body work and shoulders. They have like just boulder shoulders and all these sorts of things. And so you actually get a lot of muscular physique just from doing that sort of work. It's a very good full body workout. As far as cardio, just doing walking. I really like the high intensity sort of stuff. You can do bike sprints, those sorts of things, hill sprints. Otherwise, walking if you're not able to do that sort of stuff. Doing the long, prolonged jogs and runs and things like that is a bit. I mean, it is beneficial to your health, but it's also it can raise your cortisol and be a bit more stressful on your system than you necessarily want. So it can be a bit counterproductive. And it's funny they call that cardio because sprinting is hey, stop whining. Because sprinting is way better for your heart. And so, but as far as weights are concerned, hey, why are you so whiny? Why are you so whiny? Why take the whiny boy? You take the whiny boy. Oh, hush. Oh, hush. Jesus. Okay. All right, I'll let him go. I think he's trying to tell me something. And so if you lift weights, if you just do more lighter weights and higher rep ranges, that is thought to be what you want to do to get more toned physique, sort of looking, as opposed to like the bigger, bulkier muscles. But I've spoken to trainers in the fitness industry and in the bodybuilding industry, and they're sort of saying like the 15 rep range is actually really good for hypertrophy. So maybe if you don't want as much hypertrophy, you go even higher than that. I still like working to failure, but that can stimulate muscle growth. The thing is too, if you do the concentric, so if you're basically doing if you're doing like there's concentric and eccentric, right? So if you're lifting a weight while your muscle is contracting and shortening the fibers, versus letting the weight down, and now you're lengthening the fibers, but they're actually still trying to hold on to each other. So molecularly, they're sort of, these actin fibers are sort of stuck on, and you're just sort of really just ripping them apart. That causes that damage, that tearing to the muscle fibers, that then stimulates more hypertrophy. And so one thing that athletes do is they'll basically, like, for like specifically in sprinters and in athletes, there's a top trainer in California who I forget his name, but he works with all the top prospects, going into the NFL and into the NFL draft. And he works with them. He gets their 40 time up, and they were going into the combine. And he just massively improves their athletic performance. And one of the things he does is something called the hex bar deadlift. So that hex bars are sort of the hexagonal shape, weights on the side. You sort of pick up the handles on either side of you, as opposed to deadlift from the front with the bar. So it's a hex bar deadlift, and you're just standing up. And he said those are all the muscles, those firing muscles for like a sprinter, for doing that sort of motion. Boom, all those muscles, those big explosive athletic muscles. And so he would just do sort of the pickup part of that and then drop it. And what that does is it's just doing the shortening of the fibers, and then you're letting go. You're not tearing it by pulling it apart. So you get better recovery. You can do it more often during the week, and you can actually do some of those, and it tightens up their muscles, gets them ready to really fire. And then you go do your 40-yard dash and actually go faster. And so the reason that is a benefit here is because you will put on muscle, you will tone, you will get stronger, you will get faster, but you're not going to be pulling and ripping those muscles apart. So the hypertrophy, the bulkiness, is going to be less. Also, isometric exercises where you're not moving, but you're pressing against something, or you're doing something in a static position, you'll recruit a lot of muscle fibers to that, especially if you're pushing as hard as you can. But because there's no lengthening or shortening of your muscles, it just works in a different way. And so some of the old school strongmen, 100 years ago, there was like the Mighty Atom or something like that. He was this shorter dude, but he was super strong. He used like bite nails and just break him in half. It's like, oh, Jesus. And he was strong as hell. And like, he said that that the isometric things were more about getting like this strength in different ways, not getting bulk, but being stronger for your size. And what he said is it strengthened your tendons, and strong tendons is what really got you there. Who knows? But he thought isometric exercises were really good for strength. So he wasn't this huge, big, bulky guy, but he was very strong. And so you can look at those sorts of things if you want to, build strength but not get too bulky. Lena, thank you for the super chat. Do you use paper towels? What about dish soap and laundry? Yeah, I use paper towels. You're going to tell me there's a whole bunch of, I'm sure there's like a bunch of microplastics and things like that in some of them. But try to get just normal paper towels. I haven't actually looked too deeply to see which ones are horrible and all that sort of stuff. But damn it, now I'm going to have to now. You just sort of raise that question. Yeah, so in the laundry, I try to not use things that have like plastic covers on like the pods, because that gets plastic in all over it just coats your dishes and forks and utensils and little plastic nonsense that you don't necessarily want, or your laundry, which then gets onto you. And so you're just using just normal powder and things like that don't have all that plastic involved with it. Those are the sort of ones that I use. I just try to avoid that. And dish soap, actually have tallow dish soap. I don't always I have that have used that as well. And but I haven't really worried too much about the soap side of things. For dish soap anyway. For my soap, I use tallow. I use like tallow soaps and things like that. But okay, yeah. So that's pretty much it. I just try to avoid things with a bunch of plastics and things like that. All right. It's a super chat from Chris Black. Thank you very much for that, for a very generous super chat. Chris says, "Hi, Dr. Chaffee. My stepmom has Hashimoto's for years and is now diagnosed with arthritis. Her doctor prescribed her a drug that causes constipation and recommended Metamucil to counteract it. What is your advice?" Absolutely love the work you do. Well, you don't. Well, Metamucil is a bulking agent, and it has just more fiber. And so, the last thing you want to do when you've slowed down the motility of your gut is add more bulk, because that's just going to cause, more blockage, right? So if you have a good analogy that gets used is, if you have a traffic jam, how do you relieve the traffic jam? Do you just send more cars in and just try to force them through like a log jam? No, that's not what you try to do. You try to relieve the bottleneck. And so what you want to do really is you want to go on a carnivore diet, really a lion diet for the Hashimoto's, because it's those autoimmune issues are reacting to the plant toxins that we're eating. And we have leaky gut and damage to the gut. Things are getting in the body, and our body's making these things are sort of attacking the organs, and your body is sort of attacking those things attacking your organs, and your organs get hit in the crossfire, and they go away. So I have over 100 patients with Hashimoto's specifically, and the ones that go on a carnivore diet, not even a full line diet, the ones that do a full line diet, just red meat and water, do far better. But everyone doing a carnivore diet, antibodies come right down. You can measure them. You see a number next to them. That number comes down, and eventually that goes to undetectable. And so that's what I would recommend. Also getting a lot of fat, because fat is actually what's going to keep the stool soft. So it doesn't matter what the motility is. If the stool is soft, if it's soft because there's water in it, okay, well then you're on a time, there's a time issue, because if it's slowing down the motility, it's just going to dehydrate and desiccate in your colon, and you're not going to be able to get it out in time before it's just locked up. But if you have fat in there and you're eating enough fat, that fat gets into the stool. That excess fat that your body can't absorb because it's surplus to demand, it just goes out and keeps those stools soft. Fat repels water. It's already dehydrated. It's not going to get more dehydrated. You don't absorb fat in your lower intestine. So it keeps it in there and it keeps it soft. So if she's eating enough fat, doesn't matter what drug she's taking, she shouldn't get constipation, but she needs to eat enough fat, and she needs to eat meat, and she needs to stop eating plants, really. And I wouldn't personally take Metamucil ever for any reason at all. All right, Lena, thank you for the super chat. Again, hungry last night, but wanted to go to bed, so didn't cook, hence didn't sleep as deeply. Does going to sleep hungry once in a while mess up hormones? I don't think so. No, I don't know that it would, or anything like that. So no, I don't think that's a problem. It's not that I know of anyway. So no, that's fine. You just catch up the next day. Thing is that it's very normal for us and for carnivores in general and predators in general to not necessarily eat every day. And so our bodies are more than adapted and designed to go multiple days or weeks without eating. You're going to be fine. I don't think that's going to hurt you in any way. Now, obviously, unless you're really not eating enough and you're getting emaciated, but no, not just from not eating one day. Lena, again, thank you again for the super chat. Do you know of any natural painkiller remedy? I suppose it depends on what you mean by natural painkiller remedy. If you mean a natural painkiller, like willow bark, that has aspirin, things like that, but I'd rather just take the aspirin. The main thing is that doing a carnivore diet, you're just going to lower your inflammation. You're going to have less pain. You're just going to experience less pain. And so that's sort of the best painkiller I have when I eat any sort of rice or beans or any carbs or whatever. It was only like a little bit got stuck to the meat that I was eating. When I was at a restaurant, I couldn't scrape it all off. This was 6 years ago. And that was enough to just absolutely kill me. I was like stabbing back pain in my lower back for 4 days after that. It was absolutely awful. So, but other than that, you make natural endorphins that can work on your opiate receptors. They were there. They were there before we knew about opiates. It's just those things happen to hit on our opiate receptors. They're already there for our own purposes. But if you're talking about like sort of things to take that are painkillers, I probably would stick to just the isolated chemical in things like Tylenol and ibuprofen and things like that. If you need them, hopefully you don't. But I certainly wouldn't take any plants that have thousands of other chemicals in them as well. So yeah, I would. That'll be my thoughts. But if I understand your question correctly, that's what I would say. So Darth Carnivore says, Dr. Chaffee needs to author a children's nutrition book called Plants Don't Want to Be Eaten. That's not a bad idea. That's a great title too. Yeah. Plants don't want to be eaten too, or something like that. Say like, plants don't want to be eaten. Yeah, but plants don't want to be eaten too. And this is what they do and all that sort of stuff. Not a bad idea. I should make a note of that. I will make a note of that. Ugh, why don't pens never work? Sorry. Almost done. Good idea. That's funny. But yeah, that's great. That's a great idea. Mariana Kotzer, thank you very much for the super chat. Dr. Chaffee, my dad has been diagnosed with emphysema last year, even though he quit 18 years ago. He's 73 years old. His skin on his lower legs are red and dry with sores. He is not diabetic. Any chance that carnivore will help him? Well, it will help him. Will it help all these problems and reverse them completely? No, it's not going to reverse everything completely, but it can absolutely help. And I've been seeing more and more people with COPD, emphysema, that are improving on a carnivore diet. It's not going to regrow, lost tissue, but it could help that we know of. It won't, but it could help with making the tissue that's still there heal and work as well as it possibly can. And if there is some healing that can be done, hopefully it does that. But there are a lot of people that are doing this with COPD and improving the different sorts of problems with skin and sores and poor wound healing and things like that, diabetic or otherwise. That does help. So a lot of people get helped by that. So and it's going to help them in all the other ways that it helps everybody else all the time. It's going to give him better mental clarity, better energy, better nutrition. He's going to keep on healthy weight more easily as long as he's eating enough. It's very easy to undereat. So make sure that he's eating until fatty meat stops tasting good. That's very different than just eating until you feel that you can stop. Hey, stop it, weirdo. Sorry, the cat's just trying to knock over my water. Hey, stop. And so just he'll improve in all these other sorts of ways, and other people have improved their symptoms of emphysema, and certainly a lot of skin issues and healing issues. So it's definitely worth the try. Crazy About Carnivore says, is there a Facebook group for Dr. Chaffee? I don't have a Facebook group. I mean, there's like a follow page that doesn't really see too much action. I might link that to my Instagram and just have that post on there. Like right now we're streaming to Facebook as well, but it's streaming to my Facebook page, like my actual page. I was streaming it to my other, follow page, and it was getting like, 3 people at a time. So I don't think very many people know about that. So, but yeah, the idea is to have have that follow page. And I guess the only Facebook group I have is the How to Carnivore group, but that's a group for people that have been in our challenge, on the How to Carnivore challenge, and then that's a sort of a private group for everybody who has been in the challenge, and they can, if they're not, you can do the challenge more than once, but if you don't want to or whatever, just want to still be connected with people, you can be in that Facebook group and still talk to people and communicate and support each other and things like that. So that's a little different. So I don't have my own. I think some of the best Facebook groups would be Zero Carb Health and Zeroing In on Health. They've been around the longest. They're the strictest, and I think they get the best results and they have the best information. I think a lot of other ones, it's just haywire. There's just all sorts of people saying all sorts of different things, and it's not helpful for people. So I think that those are the best ones, and so that's where I generally direct people to. And then Mary Shepard says, "Am I the only one weirded out by the line in the bottom right corner having rabbit ears, or is it just my new glasses?" So that's brings the thumbnail that I have for this. Yeah, it is a bit weird. Where is that? Yeah, I didn't actually really notice the rabbit ears. That's creepy. Yeah, I didn't notice that. I did notice the the antlers, coming out of the hand of one of the little big cats and things like that, and some other sort of, yeah. I mean, you want to see weird, you see what the other sorts of weird things that the AI comes up with. It's bizarre. There's absolutely bizarre things that when you get the weird AI stuff to do. Yeah, that's bizarre. Oh God, that's creepy. Yeah, what is that? Are those rabbit ears? Well, they're weird anyway. Yeah, I didn't actually notice that. That's super creepy. Thanks for that. Now I'm only gonna see that ever when I'm looking at this. I'm gonna have to get a new thing. It creeps me out enough. Hey everyone, really happy to announce a new sponsor for the show and for everybody down in Australia, Stockman Steaks, who are delivering high quality grass-fed and finished pasture-raised beef and other meats, flash frozen and vacuum sealed to your door, something that I've been enjoying a lot of myself recently as well. They also have a great range of specialty items such as high-fat keto mince and carnivore beef and organs mince with liver, kidneys, and beef heart as well. So use code Chaffee today for a free order of beef mince or another specialty gift along with your order at stockmansteaks.com.au, and I'll see you over there. Thanks, guys. Lisa C says, just want to thank Dr. C once again for giving me my life back, or giving my life back to me after a traumatic brain injury. I was on the trampoline with teenage granddaughter doing swivel hips and airplanes yesterday. That's amazing. Well, I mean, don't know what I did, but I'm glad that changing your diet helped your traumatic brain injury. I mean, that's something that's in the literature. Ketogenic diets, like a carnivore diet, help people recover from traumatic brain injuries and concussion and post-concussion syndrome and all the rest. So it's great that you found that, and at a time that your body was still able to repair and get a lot of good results back. So that's really great. I'm really glad that you're able to spend time with your grandkids and get a lot better. So yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. Jen Werner, thank you for the super chat. I've been experiencing symptoms of hypoglycemia. I am off all diabetes medication for over a year and doing keto for 9 months. My endocrinologist wants me to increase my carbs, but I refuse. I don't know what to do. I guess it depends on what your symptoms are and sort of why you're getting them. If you're off all your medications, your body should just make your the appropriate amount of blood sugar. That's what people do. There's no such thing as an essential carbohydrate. Your body, entire civilizations, entire human race survived without carbohydrates for much of its existence, and generation after generation. So this is something that we're designed for and built for. So if you're doing keto, There's a difference between keto and just carnivore. The reason I do carnivore, not keto, carnivore is a ketogenic diet, but it's more strict. It's just getting rid of all plants in general. And the reason being is these plants have toxins that aren't good for you. Some of those toxins, some of these things called lectins, can actually bind to the insulin receptors 5 times more tightly than insulin. And so you can actually get an insulin response, even though you're not bringing in extra carbs. You can actually get lower blood sugar, and you actually suppress your ketones. The only way that people can really get symptomatic or hypoglycemic, or certainly symptomatic for hypoglycemia, is if they're not making ketones, because there are experiments in humans back when you didn't have to pass this by an ethics committee, where they ramped up people's ketones, and then they dropped their blood sugar levels. They dropped it lower and lower and lower. They dropped it down to blood sugar levels that you should be in a coma. They were fine. They asked them, "Hey, how you feeling?" "Yeah, fine." "Why do you ask?" Nothing was different for them, because their brain was running on ketones, because your brain primarily runs on ketones. It preferentially runs on ketones. So all these people say, "Oh, no, you have to have glucose for your brain." No, you don't. You need ketones for your brain. You use glucose as a secondary fuel source if you don't have enough ketones. So if you have enough ketones and you have an abundant amount of glucose, the cortex of your brain will only run on ketones. So 2/3 of your brain, of your brain cells, will only run on ketones, right? So plenty of glucose available, it's only running on ketones. That's a preference. So that's its primary energy source. And it's only when the ketone levels start going down, like insulin or insulinogenic response, that you start replacing that with glucose. Now, if you have that insulin response and there's no glucose available, and you suppress your ketones, and you don't have as much glucose, then you can start feeling pretty rotten. But that doesn't happen if you're not getting that response. So if you have enough ketones, you should not get the cognitive sort of issues related to hypoglycemia. And so I would, you could check your ketones. So I think really what you need is ketones, not carbs. Some of these lectins in plants can cause, can bind to the insulin receptors and can cause that scenario to happen. Another potential issue is that you can, if you're using like keto treats and keto snacks, well, they're keto, so therefore it's okay. No, there are other bad things on this earth besides carbohydrates. And when you're using artificial sweeteners, that can actually give an insulin response, get reactive hypoglycemia, because your insulin goes up and you're not getting a whole bunch of carbs, so your blood sugar goes down, your ketones go down, and you have issues with hypoglycemia. If you're a type 2 diabetic, then you have the same risks and problems of getting hypoglycemia as anybody else in the population, because you're not taking insulin. The issue with hypoglycemia in type 1 diabetics, which is an entirely different disease. We call them both diabetes because they both make you pee more when you have massively elevated blood sugar levels, but they're not anywhere near the same disease, same issue. So, these things can get conflated, and it seems that your doctor is doing that. If you're just not taking medication, you're not taking insulin, you're a normal person. So why are you getting hypoglycemia? It's not because you're diabetic, because you're not that kind of diabetic. It's because of something else that you're doing. So, I don't have much to go on, but the keto part of that makes me think that there's something that you're eating apart from meat that is causing this reaction and response. Cold Brew, thank you very much for the super chat. Hey, I've been eating a lot of chicken thighs. Is it better to eat the skin or not? Are there any benefits to eating the skin? Thanks. Yeah, a lot of benefits of eating the skin. There's much more nutrients and fat that you want. You need the fat, and so if you're eating chicken, you want it with you want the dark meat with the skin on, because you need that fat. Chicken is very lean and has less nutrients, especially fat-soluble nutrients, than red meat options. And so, yeah, you need the skin. There's a lot of great nutrients in the skin. like the fat. The fat is a nutrient. It's not just a calorie source. There are essential fatty acids that you have to have that you can only get from meat. And there are essential fat soluble nutrients that you have to have you can only get from meat. And so you need to eat the fat. It's an essential nutrient. So yes, the skin is great. Also tastes really good. That's a big advantage too. And hello, Ellie Melly says, hello, my two boys. Yeah, we had the little boy. And he's ignoring me now. He's ghosting me. So unfortunately, it's just the one boy right now. Deborah says, I appreciate you and thank you for all you do. Dr. Anthony Chaffee, go Carnivore. Well, thank you very much. You're very sweet. My son is 31 and autistic, day 2 carnivore, nonverbal, but he seems calmer. That's great. So I'm really glad to hear that. I think this is probably one of the most important things for autistic people, kids and adults, because you just help the brain work a lot better. And it's getting rid of a lot of things that slow down the brain and stop it from working properly. One of the things that prevents the brain from working properly are dysfunctioning mitochondria. There can be a lot of reasons for dysfunctioning mitochondria, like lack of carnitine. Only 70% of people make enough carnitine. Fully 30% of the world doesn't make enough carnitine, and you have to get it from your diet. So you're eating more fatty meat, just meat in general, you're going to get more carnitine. You can't get that from plants. And then if you're in a ketogenic diet, again, your brain's running on ketones primarily and preferentially. So that's better for your brain. You want to be in ketosis anyway for brain development. You need to be in ketosis for brain development because the ketones cross the blood-brain barrier and reconstitute into fatty acids. And so when your brain's still developing, you need those ketones to get in there and actually build the physical structures of the brain. And then after several months on a carnivore diet that is ketogenic, you actually will go through autophagy and more autophagy and mitophagy. You're going to be and mitogenesis. So you're going to be replacing the mitochondria and you're going to be making more of them. So it's been shown in studies that ketogenic diets, like a carnivore diet, after 3-4 months, you have 4 times the number of mitochondria and they're 4 times as effective. So there's a massive improvement in the mitochondria and function of our neurons and cells overall. And so that is something that I would expect him to get better and better at. And hopefully in a couple of months, he'll be even better than that. And I would expect him to be. And I hope that he is. And so thank you very much for sharing. Starlord, thank you very much for the super chat. Hi, Dr. Chaffee. I've been eating mostly red meat and eggs for a year now, and it's been so good for my health. But I have a hard time dropping coffee and ice cream. I know it makes a difference to go pure. Any recommendations? Ice cream is that's a big one. A lot of sugar, a lot of stuff in there. You can make better versions of ice cream. You can just make it with cream. You can just ice cream. Put in some raw milk. There's a bit of sweetness to milk. It's actually very sweet to me. If I drank whole milk, it tastes like I'm just drinking ice cream. It's just insane, like how good that tastes. But that's because my sweet senses, my sense of sweet flavors is much more pronounced now, because I'm not just overwhelming my system with just crazy amounts of sugar and sweets. And so I drink milk and it's like, wow, that's insanely sweet. And so, if you just made, ice cream or iced milk out of like whole milk, like to me, that would just taste like ice cream. You wouldn't need anything else. But if you actually just make cream, like take actual cream, a couple egg yolks in it to make it a custard, and you turn that into ice cream, you can just have that. You have a bit of raw milk or something like that, or whole milk or whatever in there, and it had a bit of extra sweetness, but it's not like a ton. It's not ideal because you're still having carbs and you're still going to raise your insulin, but it's a lot better than store-bought ice cream with all the sugar and added random chemicals that are in there. So that would be my suggestions. Maybe transition to that, and then maybe see if you can pop it off. Coffee, it depends on why you're drinking coffee. If you just If you want the energy and the caffeine, you can switch to caffeine pills, which have the thing that you want and it doesn't have the 150,000 other chemicals that come with coffee. If you like it just because you enjoy the ritual of it, just something hot and disgusting to taste in the mornings, then you can try to transition that to something warm and not disgusting to taste, like even bone broth or even just water. People make bulletproof water now, where they blend like a stick of butter in hot water, and it's just all this creamy, foamy, frothy butter water. It actually sounds pretty horrific to say that out loud, but it actually tastes really nice. It's just nice, this sort of nice creamy drink, and it's nice and warm. So it depends on what you're going for, but you can sort of replace that with these other things. Eventually, when you drop caffeine in general, you might get some headaches. Not everyone does. Some people do, and they go away within the first few days. And so then you drink a lot of water, because that can help you not have headaches. And then you tend to feel a lot better. A lot better. You have a lot better energy, much more consistent energy. Instead of these spikes and ups and downs, you're just here, just there all day. And I was working till very late last night, and my energy was right there the whole time. I had as much energy at night as I had in the morning. I worked all day, came back, I had consultations and meetings and podcasts and things like that, and then I had a lot of work to do on the computer, and then it was just it was a lot of work, and I was there the whole time. So it's much better without the caffeine, I find. And so eventually you just sort of replace these things out, and then at some point you just sort of stop and just give it 30 days. You can do anything for 30 days. And so this is in the grand scheme of the entire span of your life, 30 days is nothing. You can just see, you say, okay, how much better do I feel? Do I feel better at all? Did I feel better with the ice cream and coffee? You won't. But if you did, it's like, okay, great. You can go back to that. You can always add it in. So you're having that bite-sized chunk of just saying, it's just 30 days. There's no issues with it. And you see what it is. A lot of people, most people find that, wow, I feel a lot better since dropping these sorts of things. I found one guy who reported to me doing carnivore. He dropped coffee for 30 days. He added it back in. He didn't see much difference. So he said, yeah, all things being equal, I'm just going to start drinking coffee again because I enjoy it. Fine. That's great. But, test it, because you want to see that. If, test the contrast, you just get that information, and then you can see. So you test that. So you just try it for 30 days. You don't have anything, and you just see how your body feels. And then, you can say like, okay, wow, that's a big difference. Or maybe I didn't see too much of a difference. Maybe you add it back in and you go, oh, there's the difference. A lot of people, go carnivore, and then they say like, wow, I didn't even realize how good I felt until right now, when I don't feel that good because I ate something stupid last night. And so that's a thing. So just getting that contrast and seeing for yourself, I think you'll find that you feel a lot better without it, and that you're glad that you stopped. And then after 30 days, you'll not want to go back. I've only heard of one person that didn't do that. So see how you go. Jeff Watkins, thank you for the super chat. Looks like there's another one down here. So Jeff says, wondering if this helps gout or lymphedema. Yeah, it does. So Dr. Salisbury was using a red meat and water diet, exclusively red meat and water diet, since the 1800s to cure gout. And so it's not red meat that causes gout, it's all the other crap that comes with it. And so some people find that they get like a flare up or two of gout since then, but after going carnivore, but then it settles down and goes away and doesn't come back. There are other causes of gout besides uric acid crystals as well. There's actually like 5 causes. Now, some of those things are being called pseudo gout now. And one of them is oxalates. Oxalates are a known cause of gout. It used to be called gout, now pseudo gout. And so, you can get oxalate dumping and things like that potentially. So down the road, potentially you could get like a bit of a flare up and joint pain and things like that. But it would be likely that if you did an actual aspirate of the joint, you would not find uric acid crystals. You'd find oxalate crystals. And it's a difference, but most people do this stuff just clinically, they just, oh, that looks like gout. That's gout. That must be uric acid crystals. Well, you don't know unless you actually stick a needle in there and find out. Most people don't do that. And most doctors don't do that because it hurts. And people don't want to do that. They don't want to stick. It's like, it hurts enough and you're going to stab me. Like, thanks, doc. But so they just, oh, yeah, must be that. Here's some colchicine. Off you go. But no, people do fix their gout by going carnivore. And like I said, maybe a flare up or two, maybe it's uric acid, maybe it's something else, and then tends to go away. And lymphedema, yeah, there have been more and more and more reports of people sorting that out very, very easily with a ketogenic carnivore diet. Yep. Malia Neville, thank you very much for the super chat. Do you know anyone who is Christian that could give a biblical view on your ways? I don't know. Well, Dr. Kiltz is quite religious and could potentially do that. I don't know who else who has like a channel and things like that might be able to do that. Well, if people know of anybody who might be able to give a sort of a biblical interpretation of this, please do put it in the chats and let us know, and maybe we can pop it up if someone has a good idea. Homesick Buckeye is a guy I've become friends with. He's actually a Seventh-day Adventist church member, and he sort of found that yep, nope, this is wrong. We're not supposed to eat plants, and that's not making us healthy. And so I don't know how much of a biblical scholar he is and how much of an interpretation he has done, but I do know that he is Christian, and he has a YouTube channel as well. I think it is just Homesick Buckeye. Anyway, he's a funny guy, and he does some funny things on there, and he might be able to. Dr. Kiltz might be able to. I've seen a lot of people commenting here. If someone is a Christian, has a sort of biblical view on this, maybe we can have a discussion here. One thing that I point out to people is that, the Seventh-day Adventists say that we should be in the Garden of Eden diet. We should be doing a Garden of Eden diet, but they say that, we actually can't get B12. We lost that ability. That was punishment for the original sin, and now we need vitamin B12. So, okay, so what were people supposed to do for the thousands and thousands and thousands of years up until we were able to supplement with B12? If we were all supposed to be on a vegan diet, on a Garden of Eden diet, and we can't be, that doesn't really make sense. It's not really consistent. And that's what the School of Lifestyle Medicine teaches. You have to be on the Garden of Eden diet because the School of Lifestyle Medicine is founded by the Seventh-day Adventist Church, who say this as well. Oh, we need to eat what Adam and Eve ate in the Garden of Eden. Actually, in the Ethiopian canonical texts, they're very clear that Adam and Eve ate meat in the Garden of Eden, and meat is eaten in heaven. And then they come out of the garden for eating a plant. They get punished for eating an apple. I'd probably throw someone out of my house if they were audacious enough to eat an apple in front of me. Joking. And then, Adam and Eve had Cain and Abel. Cain gave, his crops as a sacrifice to God. God didn't care for it. Adam gave the meat from his herds. He was a herder and gave a sacrifice of meat. God was pleased. And they don't say why. It doesn't say why. It doesn't say, well, the sacrifice wasn't in your heart. I mean, a lot of people can interpret what they want, but what it says in the Bible is that Abel gave to God sacrifice of meat. God was pleased. Cain gave a sacrifice of plant. God was displeased. That's all it says. It doesn't say that Cain had hate in his heart or anything like that. It just said pleased and displeased. That's all it says. And then Cain gets pissed off and kills Abel. And, which is sort of the first recorded incidents of, vegan rage, right? They're just freaking out and trying to smash somebody. And then what happened? His disciples became horrible and plagued the earth, and they were just awful. There's a whole bunch of just angry vegans spread across the world, and these horrible, angry, farmers and crop eaters and things like that. And then what happened? God sent the flood, wiped out humanity, except for Noah. He said, "You're a good guy. Save all these animals, and now eat them." That's literally what it said. It said, "You need to eat meat now. This is stupid. This is what going plant-based does to you. This is bad." Didn't say that. But if you want to interpret, things, if people are interpreting what was in Cain's heart and all that sort of bullshit, then I get to interpret what God meant by that is that that people eating plants were bad for the planet, and you need to start eating meat. And that was what God said. So, and there's like how many thousands of examples in the Bible are there of eating meat, and you need to eat the fatted, sacrifice the fatted calf, and give this and do this and do that. In the New Testament and the Old Testament, it's all there's a lot of these directives about eating meat and things like that. So I wouldn't worry about it. Oh, Carnivore Kip might be a good one for that as well. And he has a YouTube channel also. And yeah, anybody who thinks of another one, just stick it in the chat. Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying this replay of my YouTube live. If you'd like to catch a live version and ask your own questions, please go to the next scheduled one, usually every Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. All right, see you then, and please enjoy the rest of the Q&A. Pack Fan, thank you for the super chat. I'm not seeing a question. Here it is. Pac-Fan says, "No question, just really appreciate all the info. Started Keto Carnivore 2 years ago." Well, great. Well, you're very welcome, and thank you for that. Thank you for the support, and I'm really glad that you're doing well. And I hope that that's just going well for you, and people around you are seeing the benefits and getting interested in it as well, so they can help themselves. Jeff Watkins, thank you for the super chat. Oh, I think we already did that one. Yes, we did. Daniel Patrick Roy, thank you very much for the generous super chat. It's very kind of you. Jumped into carnivore high fat head first, and about a week later got a nasty bout of keto rash. Is the way forward to slowly dial back the carbs and eventually zero carbs from 1 week to the next? You certainly can. And if you find that that's better for you, then do that. A lot of people find that just jumping headfirst into it works really well, because at some point you need to stop and you need to convert over to a state of nutritional ketosis or ketogenic metabolism, a non-carbohydrate driven metabolism. And eventually you just need to do that, sort of cutting out more and more things is, if you want to do that in a piecemeal sort of way, if that's easier for you, if that works best for you, then definitely do it. A lot of people find that it's easier for them to just jump straight into it, because if they're just sort of slowly cutting things out, they generally don't cut them all out, and then they sort of go back to what they're doing. But when they're in it, like, okay, I'm just going to do this, they throw out everything out of the house, get out of sight, out of mind. They're better able to do it. When people are quitting smoking or other sorts of things, cold turkey is what seems to have the best results. And so that can be helpful too. You just get rid of all the plants and everything in your house and just cut it out. It can be easier. If you're getting a rash, it's not necessarily because you're in ketosis. It can be because you're actually losing fat and you have a lot of toxins in your fat that get stored there, that then get released and your body can react to, and you get a bit of a rash. They go away. It does tend to go away on its own. And so I wouldn't worry too much about that. I have spoken to keto carnivore dermatologists, and they've seen that, and that's what they think is going on. So we don't know exactly what that is, but I don't think it's ever a bad time to stop eating poison and for your body to work in its natural way. But you can have these weird sort of reactions. Your body's releasing different toxins, detoxifying different sorts of things, and you can get weird reactions. And the keto rash is definitely one of those things. And so, but it goes away. And that's the whole idea. So if you feel that transitioning slower works for you and sort of keeps that at bay, great. But then if you stop eating all the carbs and you sort of start getting that again when you start losing fat, that might be what that is. And so, but just be aware and be confident that it does go away, and that it's just your body just clearing out these different stored toxins that you want to get away, and so that that's actually a good thing, and it goes away. It's temporary. Narissa Anders, thank you for the super chat. Can you speak about how to do carnivore diet properly, specifically about how to get enough fat for someone allergic to beef and cow dairy? Well, really, the only people with like an actual allergy would be people with alpha gal syndrome from the Lone Star tick bite, and then you just eat other meat that doesn't react, and you just eat fatty versions of that meat. You try to get the fat cuts from those meats. And if you can't do cow dairy, could you do goat dairy or sheep dairy, or get butter from different animals, or cream and things like that from goat cheese, all these sorts of things. I don't know if I'm sure they do goat milk. I don't know if they do goat butter. I've never seen it before. It might be interesting to try, but alpha gal, even with alpha gal syndrome, from what I understand, from what I've seen, apparently it's not permanent, and eventually you'll be able to start going back to eating red meat again. So see how you go. See if this is a true allergy, then it's then like an alpha gal sort of thing. It may be temporary. You go back. If it's not alpha gal, then there may not actually be a true allergy there. It could just be something that you're sensitive to or reacting to, or maybe something that you've been conditioned to, like red meat's bad, fat's bad. Oh, I can't eat that. And so you sort of react negatively to that. So try to figure out if this is an actual reaction or just a conditioned sort of response that you don't really feel well when you eat that stuff because you've always been told your whole life that it's not good for you. Either way, just eat the meat that tastes good to you, that makes you feel the best, and that you have access to. It doesn't have to be beef. It doesn't have to be butter. But those are very nutritious things that most people will be just fine on, and the vast majority of people will be best on. But if that's not you, if something else is better, then eat it. If you're saying allergic to beef, what about lamb? What about goat? What about venison? Have those. Have the fattiest cuts. Get the the trimmings from the lamb fat. That might get thrown out otherwise. You can just cook that up, fry that up. Plenty of fat on there. And so a lot of options. Jetting Chen, thank you for the super chat. Thoughts on carbonated water while on carnivore? I don't think it's the worst. I don't think it's necessarily bad for you. Certainly, if it's unflavored, if it's just the carbonated water, and that helps you drink water, I think that's probably fine. It has a bit of a sort of carbonaceous gas that carboxylic acid sort of thing. Is that going to be good for your enamel? Is that going to upset your stomach pH and things like that? Yeah, maybe. So I wouldn't necessarily have a ton of this stuff, but every now and then it's probably fine, as long as it's not flavored or sweetened. Kylie Criddle, thank you for the super chat. Not seeing a question. I'm not seeing a question down the road either. Maybe if you put your question up, just put it in and put Q's next to it, and hopefully we'll be able to find it. And this little Ellie Melly, thank you for the super chat. Very sweet of you. Don't have to do that. Just doing a super chat so that I was here in case you didn't see me say hi. Thank you for being a wonderful, supportive person you are. Well, you're very welcome, and thank you for being a very nice, sweet little girl. And nice to see you. Tina Andre, thank you very much for the super chat. Again, unfortunately, not seeing. Oh, there we go. Down there. The question is, I'm confused. I eat very low carbs, mostly meat, butter, and dairy. If I eat too many carbs in a day, will my cholesterol stick to my arteries? I don't think cholesterol is the causative factor for atherosclerosis in general. So I don't think that that's something that you need to worry about. Carbohydrates themselves do bad things to your body, raise insulin, and raised insulin has over 100 different effects on the body, and that can be very damaging to the body. Um, so it's not the cholesterol doing it, but the carbs going up, damaging the cholesterol, knocking off ApoB100. Those things having to be picked up by scavenger macrophages and things like that can make these foam cells. Then you get damage to your artery linings. Can these foam cells get stuck in there? All these sorts of things. There's a lot of theoreticals. We don't actually know the direct cause of this, but I think we do know that high levels of cholesterol don't cause heart disease and don't cause atherosclerosis. And so, it would be the carbohydrates damaging your body, and and potentially other sorts of things damaging your body, high cortisol, high homocysteine, and others, and nicotine. These sorts of things can all damage the lining of your arteries. If you don't have that damage in the first place, nothing can get stuck in there anyway. So you do the things that don't damage that. So you don't have any nicotine products. You keep your homocysteine low by keeping your B12 and folate high, or in a good level, and then avoiding carbs and things like that can cause glycation, advanced glycation end products, and other sorts of damage to the body that's very, very deleterious. Those are the things you want to do. And so I wouldn't worry too much about the cholesterol side of things. The cholesterol is the normal. The cholesterol is supposed to be there. Can the carbs damage the cholesterol? Yes. Does that then cause atherosclerosis? Not necessarily cause, but it could be used in that process, but not necessarily. There are studies showing that in AAAs, abdominal aortic aneurysms, with a whole bunch of plaque and buildup, they actually found plant sterols, the plant cholesterol in there. So actually macrophages hold on to our cholesterol very tightly, but they just spit up plant sterols very quickly, the plant version of cholesterol, because it's like, oh, that's not normal. Don't want that crap. And so it could be that these macrophages are going in there. It's not they're depositing our cholesterol, even though they're filled up foam cells. It could be that they're spitting out the plant sterols, and that's what's getting in there. So we don't actually know one way or the other. So I don't think that cholesterol will ever cause this as a problem. It's just a scapegoat by the sugar companies, and I think we just need to ignore that and stop thinking about it in that context, and do think about things like carbohydrates, sugar, alcohol, seed oils, inflammation, homocysteine, all these other sorts of things, nicotine, all these other sorts of things. But in the 1920s and before, 4 out of 5 men smoked. And yet heart disease was nearly non-existent. In the 1800s, it was similar, and it was non-existent. As far as heart attacks, deaths from heart attacks reported in America, non-existent in the 1800s. A lot of people smoked. So, does nicotine damage these vessels? Have we seen evidence of atherosclerosis going back hundreds of years? Yeah, we have. First heart attack proven on autopsy, though, was in 1912 in America. There wasn't a single case before that in America. A few in Europe in the 1800s, in the entire century of the 1800s, and one that I found in the 1700s. But reports of atherosclerosis, we could see, oh, look, there's some buildup there, right? So, other things, other plants, and going back to ancient Egypt, they definitely had signs of this stuff. They weren't eating a lot of meat. They were eating tons of grain, pressed seed oils, and beer, lots of booze. And they had man boobs and beer bellies. And the Ebers Papyrus showed that they talked about the symptoms that you would see right before someone dropped dead of a heart attack. And they described diabetes and Alzheimer's. They had these diseases there, and they was all eating lots of this sort of garbage. And now that we've gone much more plant-based, plant-focused, processed plant food focused, we're getting a lot more of these diseases as well that we really haven't seen in this abundance since ancient Egypt, when they were eating just a ton of this stuff. And that was actually an old saying in ancient Egypt. An ancient Egyptian proverb was 1/4 of what you eat feeds you, and 3/4 of what you eat feeds your doctor. Because you're eating that, you're getting sick, and now you're going to the doctor and paying him to fix you. They knew it back then. Hippocrates, let food be thy medicine, medicine thy food. Hippocrates also said, before you heal someone, ask them first if they're willing to give up that which is making them sick, right? So we have known this for a long time, that the food causes the disease. It's just we have had, I don't know how many billions of dollars have been spread around, maybe in the hundreds of billions at this point, over the last 150 years, in propaganda and marketing and fake studies and payoffs and bribes and all these sorts of things, to make us, forget something we've known for thousands of years and had hard evidence of, and still have hard evidence of. So I don't think we should think about this in the context of cholesterol anymore. I think we think about it in the context of eating an inappropriate diet. You make cholesterol, don't worry about cholesterol. You don't need excess carbs. You make all the carbs you need. You drop those, cut out the sugar, you cut out the seed oils, you cut out the things that didn't even exist in nature 150 years ago, like these seed oils and random chemicals that we just putting into food and cosmetics and things like that. You just don't put that stuff in your ecosystem, and just eat what people have been eating for millions of years, and get on with your life, and it'll be a much better life for that. Okay, Roach, thank you very much for the super chat. Do you know of any studies relating to motor neuron disease and a zero carb diet? Not much information, and definitely no help out there in regards to it. Thanks. I've only come across like a few things. They weren't like very robust. I have anecdotally seen a few people that have said that they have experienced improved symptoms. Is it that they're improving their motor neuron disease, or is it because they're just improving all these other ways as well, and that's making it a lot easier to deal with the motor neuron disease? Can't say at this point. Don't have too much information on that, unfortunately. But the thing is what the hell else is going to work? We don't really have anything. So it's sure as hell worth a try. And it is going to help them in a lot of other ways, which will make them a lot more healthy in general, which is exactly what you need. You need to be as healthy as you can be when you're dealing with something like that. And so it's definitely worth trying it out. And I would be as laser focused on this as possible, of just very high fat red meat. Cut out everything else. Eat organs along with that. Make sure you're getting all the nutrients that you need. You don't have any sort of gaps in that. Meat has everything you need, but the meat that we're eating isn't wild game anymore. It's not wild mammoth, right? The Inuits don't really eat organs, but they're eating wild game, right? Traditionally, right? And so that's much more nutrient dense. So I would do that, and it's sure as hell worth a try. And hopefully it helps, and actually helps with the MND, and not just makes them feel better while dealing with it. Hopefully it just makes it go away. That would be the ideal. And please let us know if this is yourself or someone else. Let us know how it goes. Let us know what your experience is or their experience is, because we need all the information we can get on those sorts of things, especially things like motor neuron disease. TKM 7211, thank you very much for the super chat. Hi, Dr. Chaffee. Do you think taking a beef collagen supplement on a carnivore diet would be beneficial, or just another overpriced supplement? Thank you. Yeah, I'd probably just waste some money. You probably don't need that. If you're on a carnivore diet, you're going to get tons of collagen. If you really want more collagen, you sort of eat the cartilaginous parts of the meat, like the ends of chickens, or chewing up some chicken, cartilage and things like that. The more tough bits of beef, where you're slow cooking them and you're sort of breaking down that collagen, you get a ton from that. So slow cooked meats, slow cooked tough meats, you're going to get a lot of collagen from that. If you're making like bone broth, beef broth, something that I heard the other day, was it from Natasha Campbell McBride, maybe Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride, world-renowned neurosurgeon. We're just calling her Natasha, but she did the GAPS diet. I think it was her who said that like bone broth was like poor man's beef broth, because you don't just want the bones, you want the meat on the bones in there, and you get out all those nutrients from the meat and the bones, and that's much better. So you can do that. You get plenty of collagen, from doing something like that. You don't need to take collagen supplements. You'll get plenty of collagen just from eating just meat. And if you want more collagen, you get the slow cooked, tougher pieces and bone or beef broth with the bones and meat in it, and you'll be fine. Amanda Erskine, thank you for the or not a super chat. Thank you for the question. Hi, Dr. Chaffee, carnivore 3 years. I have cerebral palsy, spastic quadriplegia. I have had a consistent loss of function for 4 years. I'm really sorry to hear that. I increased my fat intake recently and gained function. What happened? That's amazing. Well, I can't say exactly why you've been losing function. Cerebral palsy is by definition something that's supposed to be a stable lesion. So if you're losing function, it's just your body's atrophying and just sort of slowing down as we age, and that can certainly happen. Could be different sorts of things you're eating. Carnivore for 3 years is fantastic, but your brain and your nervous system are made out of fat. They're made out of cholesterol, and you need that fat and cholesterol from the meat that you're eating, like DHA, EPA. So it may be that you weren't getting enough fat. You weren't getting enough fat for your body and to support your neurological system. And so that's great. I mean, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Just say like, okay, don't know what's going on here, but just I'm happy about it. Eat a lot of meat. Eat a lot of fat. Don't eat anything else. And that's amazing that you're getting more function. I have heard of other people with cerebral palsy sort of getting a bit less spastic and the rigidity being lessened, so they don't have to get like Botox injections, which is amazing. And so it'd be interesting to see how much improvement you get. A lot of fat. So you want to get like 2 grams of fat to 1 gram of protein. Focus on red meat if you can, and butter if you tolerate it. Try that, and you're getting that really high amounts of fat, a lot of really healthy omega-3s, so the DHA and the EPA from grass-fed butter, grass-fed beef, or other sources of animal fats that are high in omega-3s. And hopefully this just keeps getting better. There's probably going to be a limit on how much improvement you get, just because there is just the definition of cerebral palsy is that there's a stable lesion and a piece, basically some damage of some form from some reason, from some cause that's caused a bit of damage, and that probably isn't going to go away, but the rest of the brain and nervous system can potentially help carry some of the burden and at least make things run as well as they can. So hopefully they do, and that's great. That's great news, and I'm really excited to see how much more improvement you get. David Vaudison, thank you very much for the super chat. I have stage 3 or 4 chronic kidney disease. I'm considering a carnivore diet. Would that be safe? Presently, I am fairly tired and have mild ankle edema. Yeah, I think it'd be exactly what you need. I mean, there's no situation that I can think of that a proper biologically appropriate diet for our species would ever be a bad idea. I can't think of any anyway. So anybody in any situation, any issue, it should improve on a proper biologically appropriate diet for our species. And all the best evidence shows that that's a carnivore diet, a high fat carnivore diet. And so, yes, I not only think it would be safe, I think it would be really important for you to do that. It's the plants that are damaging your kidneys, sorry to say, but, there's a lot of plant toxins that are nephrotoxic, like oxalates, but there are others. And, just high blood sugar and glucose, this damages directly the little structures in the kidneys. It makes them so they don't work as well. And so you're getting away from that. You're only giving your body what it needs. You're not taking anything that's going to harm it. And increasing your protein does not damage your kidneys. That is a myth. That is a lie. That is something that has been roundly disproven. The studies actually show, the data actually shows that as you increase protein, you increase kidney function. So, maybe look in the chat here. People that have had experience with that have improved their kidney function. Right in the chat. There's thousands of people. All my patients that have kidney issues, they all improve on a carnivore diet. I've seen people, with worse kidney function than that, go back to pretty much normal function, and in a matter of months. It's pretty remarkable. So yes, it is safe, and B, I think it'll be beneficial. Hey everyone, if you need a little extra help getting started on a carnivore diet and my online resources that I have for free aren't enough for you, you can go to www.howtocarnivore.com and sign up for a 30-day carnivore challenge where you'll have online resources, group support, weekly Zoom meetings, as well as the ability to chat live with myself, Simon Lewis, and the others in the challenge who can help you and support you and give you extra advice and help you along the way. So if that sounds like something that would be beneficial to you, then please go to howtocarnivore.com and sign up. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you there. So George Converse, thank you very much for the super chat. What are your thoughts? And also we should stop the super chats here because I've got to go in about 20 minutes. So I think we've definitely got enough here to contend with. So we'll just maybe no more super chats, guys. I don't want to miss any of these. What are your thoughts on getting using skincare that is plant-based skincare or any animal product skincare, or not needed at all? Generally, not much needed, but tallow. Tallow is fantastic. Emu oil is fantastic. I partnered with Stone and Spear Tallow. Links are in the description of all this. They're great. I just use the normal sort of tallow stuff, no scents or anything like that. Never found anything that worked better on my skin. Nothing than animal fat, especially tallow in particular. Tallow comes from Latin for sebum. Tallow is the Latin for sebum, which is our normal skin oils, because they found that it was very similar to our skin oils. And so that's just sort of, you wash soap, you just strip off all the natural oils that are supposed to be there. And you have damaged, dry skin now. You put tallow back on it, it's all good. Yeah, nice, shiny, healthy skin. It's fantastic. So yeah, I would not use plant-based skincare products or oils. I don't want that stuff in my body. And it was a good saying that someone said, which was, never put anything on your skin that you wouldn't eat, because in 20 minutes it's going to be in your bloodstream anyway. So don't do that. So I just put tallow. Just use tallow, animal fat, because I'm happy to eat that too. Rajaram Jayashankar, thank you so much for the super chat, for the very generous super chat. It's very kind of you. Greetings from India. Can carnivore cure eczema? Is salicylate in food related? I'm not sure if salicylates are a cause of eczema. They can certainly cause a lot of other problems. But yes, you can absolutely get rid of eczema on a carnivore diet. Many people have. Maybe some people put in the comments, have you helped your eczema, rosacea, psoriasis, other sorts of skin conditions? Yes, thousands and thousands and thousands of people that I have heard of personally have done this, and I'm sure hundreds of thousands, millions of people around the world at this point. Oh, but it's an anecdote. It's only 5 million anecdotes. Sure. What matters is what happens in real life. And when anybody tells you, there's only anecdotes for carnivore diet, it's called bullshit, because the most heavily studied, the most rigorously studied diet on earth is an animal-based diet, is the carnivore diet with a side salad, the ketogenic diet. You can do any kind of ketogenic diet. Well, no, because what we're talking about are the kinds of ketogenic diets that they actually do in these studies. And yes, you get rid of carbohydrates, you have to replace it with protein and fat, but they don't replace it with plant proteins and fats, because it's next to impossible to get a proper diet without, you have to have tons of supplements from the plant-based, and you have to, drink, having a lot of plant oils and seed oils and all these other sorts of things, which is not ideal. And so they don't. None of those studies do that. They have thousands of studies looking at meat-based, high-fat, meat-based ketogenic diets. So it's a lot of meat and some non-carby vegetables, right? So it's carnivore with a side salad. So the most rigorously studied diet on earth is a meat-based, an animal-based diet, a high animal-based diet. and high-fat animal-based diet. That's the most rigorously studied diet on earth. And it's one that has been shown again and again in randomized controlled trials and direct interventional trials to be the most beneficial and efficacious for multiple health outcomes and conditions. So no, it's not anecdotal that those are the facts. A meat-based ketogenic diet is an extraordinarily healthy diet for multiple health outcomes. So just call bullshit every time you hear that, especially online, because that's just so, oh, it's just anecdotal. It's just anecdotal. No, it damn well isn't, and you damn well know that. So they're trying to pretend that that we don't actually have the data on this, but we do. David Walker, thank you for the super chat. Hey, I'm a 21-year-old male trying to reverse vitiligo with carnivore. How long would it take for me to see results? Are there other things besides carnivore I can do? I don't know if there's other things besides carnivore. I mean, just sort of just avoiding, other sorts of unhelpful things in your environment, lowering stress, getting better sleep. Those are definitely helpful. I would get in the sun, actually. Obviously, you don't want to maybe expose too much those areas that are depleted of melanin, but still getting sun is good for you. And it just depends. There are a lot of different people that I've spoken to. After a few months, they start seeing that the vitiligo fill in, and it's an autoimmune issue. Autoimmune issues go away on carnivore diets, and so if only Michael Jackson knew about carnivore diet back in the 80s, he wouldn't have had to wear that glove and do all the weird things that he did. But it goes away fairly quickly. And so it might be different for you. Any autoimmune issue, you want to stick to red meat and water, high fat, red meat and water, beef and lamb. That's it. Don't have anything else. Optimize your sleep and prioritize your sleep. Don't just, oh yeah, I'll get to whatever. I can deal with it. Don't do that. Get 8 hours of sleep a night. Reduce your stress, get out in the sun, exercise, do all these healthy things that we all know are healthy, and then add in the other thing the missing link to that health, which is a carnivore diet. And in a few months, I'd expect that to see significant improvement. If anyone else has vitiligo, maybe share their experiences as well. Miss E, thank you very much for the super chat. I have lupus. New ultrasound shows fatty liver. I've been strict carnivore for 6 months, lion diet for 3. Should I adjust fat and protein? Could it be damaged liver due to lupus? Mixed diagnosis, fatty liver. Well, look, all these things are possible, but the important thing is to know, what was your status before you started carnivore. You have to see where you were before and where you are after to know what direction things are going. Did you have fatty liver before? And is it better or worse now? Did you not have it before and now you have it? If you haven't had it before and now you have it, that would be extremely rare. I've only seen people reverse fatty liver when they go on a carnivore diet. But if you're having other sorts of things, you're having medications that can damage your liver, maybe things for your lupus that can potentially damage your liver. There's a lot of things that we take damage the liver. Methotrexate destroys your liver, but we give this to a lot of people with autoimmune issues. And so you have to get monthly, blood tests for liver function when you go on things like methotrexate. So, all those things matter. So I think the thing to do is, and there's some suggestion of that Dr. Lustig talked about that there are some concerns that he has with grain finished meat, and that they're high in branched chain amino acids, and that sort of excess branched chain amino acids can or are associated with fatty liver disease, but it's an association. There's no causation there. And there are a lot of people that just do grain finished meat and don't get fatty liver, in fact, reverse fatty liver. But that's a theoretical. And if that's something, you're just working on your differential, like, okay, what could be contributing to this? Maybe go to the grass-fed options, and going to grass-fed and grass-finished meat options like beef and lamb, and seeing how you go. Certainly cutting out the chicken, the farmed fish, factory farmed chicken and pork, and even eggs, because they have really high linoleic acid. Is that going to be a driver for fatty liver? potentially. So, if you're having these very high linoleic acid things, or things are high in BCAAs, I sort of looked at some of those studies, and they were just correlative, and they weren't like that strong of a correlation. So I'm not really convinced by that. But that's something to think about if you can't find anything else. So that's what I would suggest. Just get try to clean things up in all these different ways, and then just get more tests, right? So you need to, your medications can cause these problems. Other things can cause these problems. You could have had more of a problem before, and now you're just seeing the results of that after the fact, and that it actually could be improving. You don't know. So you need multiple data points to see what the trend is. And if it is trending in the wrong direction, then those are some areas to look at. But that's typically the opposite of what I see. I've never seen someone develop fatty liver from going carnivore, ever. But my patients, I tell them, you need to eat a lot of fat. Fat does not cause fatty liver, just doesn't. Carbs do, excess carbs do. I mean, that's how we get, we don't make foie gras by feeding, geese a whole bunch of fat. We get it by stuffing a tube down their throat and pouring grains down there. That's how you get foie gras. That's fatty liver. That's literally French for fat liver. And that's how you get that. You don't get it. If fat did it, give them a whole bunch of fat. Well, you're only going to absorb what your body wants. And that's why the saying goes, that's quicker than fat through a goose. They eat a lump of fat, goes right out in a few minutes, right? It's very quick. And so, that's not something that's going to cause fatty liver, because your body's not going to absorb it if it doesn't want it. It's just, that's how physiology works. So think about medications, think about the other sorts of things and ways to clean up everything, and get more data points, because you could very well be getting better and this not be even an issue. But first protocol, medications. Second is looking at the trend line, and then thinking about other options from there. Good luck with that. I'm sure you'll be fine. Cal Hunting, thank you for the super chat. Thanks for all your help. Having a hard time kicking my raw whole cream and raspberries, but I'm down to 10 raspberries. Well, look, you're making progress. Some whole cream and 10 raspberries, and you're not eating anything else. You're still doing better than 99.999% of people out there. So you're already doing a great job. And who knows? You get a little bit more down, and eventually just get rid of them. See how you go for a month. See how you feel. If the raspberries if you didn't feel that they were doing all that much harm to you and you enjoy them, you add them back in, you don't see anything really negative, that's fine. It's just, it's worth checking, but you're doing really good. You're down to 10 raspberries. I mean, who can say that? Most people can't. Most people are eating just high octane garbage. So, don't sweat it. You're doing great. Steve Large, thank you for the super chat. I just want to thank you for all I've learned in the past 106 days of carnivore. I feel amazing. Well, that's awesome. You're very welcome. I'm glad that it's helpful, and congratulations on feeling amazing and eating proper food and getting out of this entrenched system of illness. And thanks for sharing, Jessica. Go again. Ugh, sorry. This has changed my life. Well, thank you for the super chat. First of all, she says, this has changed my life. I'm 40 weeks pregnant, baby number 2, 2-year-old daughter has a rare de novo mutation. Husband has mental health stuff, and my migraines and inflammation are gone. Everyone's just better. Thank you. Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm so happy for you. I'm so glad for you. And that's amazing that your baby and you and your husband are doing better, and good luck with the pregnancy. And baby number 2, you're going to be a carnivore baby, and very excited for them, because they're going to be doing a lot better than their peers, and then being actually healthy for once instead of sick. Everyone's sick, and that's not what you want to see. So thank you for that. Andrew Gulia Karikis. Thank you for the super chat. And Andrew says, "Love your advice." Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm glad it's helpful. Chuck, thank you for the super chat. What is your stance on electrolytes on carnivore? Most people get everything they need from meat they eat. When you're transitioning early on and your insulin levels are coming down, your body has to sort of readjust to that because higher insulin draws in more electrolytes. And so your kidneys actually have to overcompensate and get rid of more electrolytes to overcompensate for insulin, which is going up and it's going up and it's going up and it's going up in people. When you're an infant, when you're a newborn, your insulin is very low. So when we start eating these high octane carbs, it starts going up and up, and fasting insulin goes from 5 where it should be. I had a patient last month. His fasting insulin was 72. It should never be above 9, never, right? And so, obviously, people are going to your kidneys have to compensate in that direction to actually get rid of more electrolytes, so you don't get too much sodium, potassium, and so on in your blood, because that can kill you if you have too much potassium. Too much potassium does kill you. That's lethal injection. When they anesthetize someone and they give them a high dose of potassium chloride, and that's so much potassium, it just stops their heart. So, if you're not getting rid of more and more electrolytes, when your insulin's at 72 fasting, you're going to die, right? So your body compensates in one direction and compensate back the other direction but then when that insulin's coming down, because it takes decades to get up to a 72, but it takes months to come down to normal, it's quicker. And so your kidneys may draw off too much before it sort of compensates back. So sometimes people need a bit of electrolytes. Sometimes if they're getting lightheaded and dizzy when they stand up, that can be from a bit of dehydration due to a bit of electrolyte loss. So you add some more salt, drink some more water, usually sorts it out. Usually your body compensates within a few weeks. It might take longer if you were at a 72 and it takes longer to come down. So just see what that's doing. You sort of get that keto flu, weird lightheadedness, things like that. Just think that could possibly be due to a bit of dehydration and electrolytes. Other than that, once you're adapted, once your body's back in normal homeostasis, you don't need them. Almost always. I've really not seen people need them after that. Bobby Quinn, thank you for the super chat. If Synthroid stops reduction of endogenous T4, how can one know if the carnivore diet is helping thyroid function while on T4 monotherapy? It doesn't necessarily stop it. I mean, it tells it gives you enough, and then your brain says, okay, we don't need to stimulate this as much with TSH, but you can actually see it go up. And so you can actually see it go up a bit and up a bit and up a bit. And so you can actually reduce down the dose and you see it come up a bit and up a bit. And you reduce the dose and you come up a bit and up a bit. And you see that. And so, you see people with thyroid issues able to reduce their dose because their thyroid function is going up and up and up. I'm like, okay, you don't need as much of the Synthroid, right? Or the levothyroxine or the thyroxine. It's all the same stuff, just by different names. And so, no, it doesn't completely suppress it. I mean, it does, yeah, to an extent, but your body will start making more of this stuff. And you can see that. And so you get to the point where you're saying like, oh, okay, my thyroid function is getting better. Or one thing is your TSH, right? So if your TSH is, a 3 or something like that, but you have sort of normal T4, T3 is really the more important one because that's what's actually active in your body. And you'll always convert T4 into T3. So you can have enough T4 and be bottomed out on T3 and not feeling too well. But if your T4 is 14, your TSH is 3, and then you're doing carnivore and all of a sudden your T4 is still 14, but your TSH is 0.8. Well, that means your body is not having to work as hard. Your thyroid is not having to work as hard to make the same amount of thyroid hormone, right? So that means it's working better. So it's less stimulus is providing the same result. So that means it's getting better. And so that's a good sign right there that things are getting better, and you could potentially come down off the thyroid medication and your body would just take up the slack, no problem. Okay, there's a comment here from Smiling for You, directed towards little Ellie Melly, who said, and first of all, for people who have no idea what I'm talking about. So, my girlfriend, Elle Marie, when we were traveling in overseas, sometimes when people trying to say her name, they that's how they would pronounce it. They didn't know how to say like Elle Marie. They say Ellie Melly, Ellie Melly, so it was just sort of a joke. We called her Ellie Melly, and so now I call her that. So Ellie Melly, I did not know that you and Dr. Chaffee have a cooking channel, and even though I haven't made it yet, those dumplings with the chicken skin look so good, and I've shared with others. Well, that's cool. Yeah, no. So we have something on Instagram. It's called kitchen_carnivore, and some of the same name on YouTube as well. We have sort of more videos on the Instagram one as opposed to the YouTube one, but we have both, and so people can check those out if they want to have some ideas. Dumplings we make like chicken skins. You can get them from the butcher, and they just throw them out. They actually pay to have them taken away, so don't let them charge you too much for those. And so we put the little meat in the middle, wrap them up. You can put a bit of egg on it and just sort of air fry it, crisp that, and that'll seal that off. And then you can deep fry it in like tallow or lard, or you can sort of tie a little bit of string around it and deep fry those things as well. But there's a lot of other recipes that we have on there also if you want to check out. And we're going to start making more of these things. We've just been a bit lax recently, but we're starting to post more on there now. Chase, thank you for the super chat. Started beef and water only a month ago and feel amazing, with the exception of a mocha, which has a good amount of sugar and caffeine in it. Every time I cut it out, I get nasty headaches. Any advice? Well, generally that's from the caffeine. You could potentially be getting some from the sugar. Drink a lot of water. That's number one for combating headaches in general. A major trigger for headaches is dehydration. So make sure you get enough water. Maybe transition to caffeine pills because you can get rid of all that other garbage and sugar and nonsense, but you still get the caffeine. You won't have the headaches. And then you can sort of slowly come down on the caffeine. If you're getting those nasty headaches, what you can do is you can take like half a caffeine pill, like 50 milligram, sort of half a no dose sort of thing, or 25 or something like that. And you take that with a lot of water, and that can reduce your headache. And then sort of anytime you get sort of one of those caffeine headaches, you just take a bit of caffeine just to take that edge off, and it's going to be less and less and less as you go. And so every time you'll need a bit less. And that's a way you can just sort of, wean off of the caffeine without getting massive headaches. So good luck with that. Leon Flores, thank you for the super chat. Could we still eat 3 to 5 hours before bedtime? Should I force myself to eat right after a workout? I didn't feel hungry after my workout today. I ate 4 hours prior. Yeah, I mean, first of all, yes, you can eat before bedtime. I don't think there's a problem with that unless you're eating carbohydrates, and that interrupts your blood sugar, your insulin, your melatonin, and your growth hormone when you sleep. And so you get things out of balance there. And I try to eat after I work out. I sort of think of it as like, you're just working out, you're hunting down, you're taking down an animal, you fight it, you kill it, and now you get to eat it. And so, there's thoughts one way, every which way about, is it a benefit? You get this anabolic window after you work out, or is that, bullshit or whatever? I don't know. Don't much care, but I feel good eating right after I work out, and I do it in that regard, and for that reason. And but just do what's right for you. If you don't want to eat after workout, don't. Just eat when you're hungry. Eat when things taste good. Eat until it stops tasting good, and you can definitely eat before bedtime if you're only eating meat. And yeah, if you're gonna eat, if you ate 4 hours before your workout, yeah, you probably don't need to eat all that much. I tend to avoid eating much before I work out, just because it tends to give a worse workout, because I'm much more sedate and sedentary. I'm like, oh, my body's saying like, oh, hey, we got our energy for the day. You don't need to go work for it now. But also it's, you're dedicating a whole bunch of blood and resources to your intestines that's now not available to your muscle and brain. So you get tired and you get lethargic. And that's normal. And you go into a rest and digest mode, and that's normal too. 4 hours is pretty good. I generally would leave it like 5 hours if I can before eating, or eat like a half meal if I really need to eat something during the day before I worked out. But just see how you go. Whatever works for you is really what you want to do. I wouldn't worry too much about it, as long as you're eating the right thing and enough of it. Meat Fueled Mess, thank you for the super chat. Can I invite you or pay to invite you on a podcast? You can certainly invite me. You don't have to pay me. Happy to do it. So just email me at anthonychaffee@gmail.com. It's in the description here as well. And yeah, happy to do that. Not a problem. Chickadee, thank you for the super chat. Can carnivore help alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency since it seriously affects the liver? AAT is made in your liver to help protect the lungs. Thanks. That's a very good question. I don't know one way or the other. I haven't seen any data on that one way or the other. But one thing you can do is remember, we said earlier, the most robustly studied diet in the world is the ketogenic diet, and a ketogenic diet is absolutely applicable to a carnivore diet because carnivore diets are ketogenic diets, and they're meat-based ketogenic diets, and that's what all these studies are, is meat-based ketogenic diets. And so if you go into PubMed or Google Scholar actually works great, and so you can use that as well. Just put in ketogenic diet and alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency, and see that there might well be a study that's out there. It's just they don't get publicized because there's no product behind it. The product is don't eat carbs. That's the product. It's just people actually wanting to learn and know and forward human knowledge. That's real science. The fake science is all this product mobilization and marketing bullshit that food and drug companies do to push out these studies to support their product. That's not real science. That's marketing, and that's propaganda. So take a look on PubMed or Google Scholar, and just look at for ketogenic diet and alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency, and see if there's anything there. There might be. Either way, it's worth a try. And it's going to help you. It's going to, eating properly is going to help you in a lot of other ways. But just remember, any sort of question that you guys have, or does this help with this sort of thing? Does carnivore help with this? Take a look and search around for ketogenic diets helping that thing. Because if ketogenic diet's going to help it, a carnivore diet will help it, and probably help it more, because it's a better ketogenic diet. It's the gold standard ketogenic diet. And any ketogenic diet studies are applicable to a carnivore diet, because carnivore diets are animal-based ketogenic diets. And that's what is studied. So yeah, take a look, see what you think, and let us know, because that'd be good to know too. Sheldon Martin, thank you very much for the super chat. To the question about natural pain relief, Wim Hof breathing method works wonders for pain relief. It doesn't cost money. It's just breathing. That's a very good point. So those sorts of breathing exercises like Wim Hof, meditation, just being able to sort of mind over matter your pain. I mean, think about it. That way you go into an ice bath or a cold shower and you're like, oh my God, if you freak out, it's going to be much more worse of a situation. But you're working on your breathing, you're doing these sorts of things, and you're just like, okay, yeah, I'm fine. This is cool. And yeah, so you can definitely do that. So yeah, that's a very good suggestion. Thank you, Sheldon. Cats are nice, meow. Thank you very much for the super chat. I was diagnosed with cutaneous lupus. Can carnivore diet reverse this? Thank you for all you do. Any and all autoimmune diseases that I've ever seen have improved dramatically on a carnivore diet. You need to be as strict as you can with just beef and water, so or really just red meat and water. So it's important for that. There's a lot of reasons for that. Basically, you're not getting in all the garbage from plants and things like that that can come in when you are eating pigs and chicken. They're being fed things or fish that are being fed things that they're not supposed to eat either. They can't filter this stuff out properly, and it gets into their tissue and their meat, so that can get into you, and that high linoleic acid can potentially cause problems as well. So yes, it can definitely help lupus and any form of lupus and any form of autoimmune issue. I've never seen an autoimmune issue not helped by just a red meat and water diet. So it can definitely help. and it should, and I hope it does. And good luck with that. Need to reduce stress, need to optimize sleep, need to take care of those other things that are important for your health as well. Um, food is a major part of that. It's something that we do every day generally, and you just get constant inputs of harm. You're getting constant buildup of harm, or you can go the other way, you get constant buildup of health. And so getting rid of those toxic chemicals, getting rid of those nasty things, getting in all this healthy stuff, and you're going to start reducing your antibodies, and your autoimmune issues are going to go away. And yeah, good luck with that. I'm excited for you. Anybody in the chat, if you suffer with autoimmune issues or lupus in particular, because I had a couple lupus questions today, please do put that in the chat and tell us what your experiences has been, and maybe some things that tripped you up, and some things that you had to do to change to make sure that you got a good result, because that's very helpful for people when they're trying to figure this out. Stags, thank you for the super chat. 4 months carnivore, never had diarrhea till this week. I believe it's bile acid. Will this go away? It started after I consumed air fried beef fat and pork rind. Could just be that you're having more fat than your body can absorb. Bile acid helps you absorb fat. I mean, the bile helps you absorb fat. It shouldn't cause diarrhea. If you're eating more fat than your body can absorb, then it's just going to go out as loose stools. That's that overflow mechanism. That's why I say it's physiologically impossible to overeat fat, because you just won't absorb it. It's not that your body excretes your excess fat through your stools. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the fat that you eat, your body absorbs what it wants and what it has bile for, and what is left over in your gut doesn't get into your body. It goes out into your stools. And so that's generally what people have, loose stools. And so you start eating more beef fat and pork rinds, there's more fat there. And so that's going to maybe be a lot more than your body can absorb. So you can reduce that. Now, if you are taking in anything else that could affect this, you want to drop those things too and see how that affects it. So coffee, tea, caffeine in general, any non-sugar sweetener like stevia, monk fruit sugar, xylitol, all these sorts of things, erythritol, which is monk fruit sugar, all these sorts of things will cause diarrhea. Magnesium supplements, too much of that can cause loose stools. And medications, many medications, but a very common one is metformin that can cause diarrhea, and so, or at least speed up your stools, and so that can cause serious diarrhea and things like that. And so get rid of all those. If you're only doing meat and water, pull back on the fat. You added more fat, and you got the consequence that people typically see when they eat more fat than the body can absorb. So it could be a combination of coffee and more fat, but if you're not doing anything else, and it's just the increased fat, pull back on the fat. Okay, thank you, Jimmy, for the super chat. This will be the last question, guys, and then we're going to wrap up because I've got to hop on another call. Thank you very much, Jimmy. Just got nude work done, NOOD work done, and was told that maybe blood work. Hoping that's blood work. God, we represent as blood work. Just got blood work done, and was told I'm pre-diabetic and have high cholesterol. Doctor recommended eating soy products, fruit, veggies, whole grains, nuts, seeds, beans. What do you think? I think that would probably kill you eventually. Anyway, no, that's the last thing you want to do in your entire life, especially, Jesus Christ. Yeah, eat grains and seeds and things like that if you're a diabetic. Why would someone suggest that? This is a consequence of fix your high blood sugar by eating more sugar. Like, great idea, doc. Thank you for that. No, so if you go carnivore, you will not be diabetic anymore. You won't be pre-diabetic or diabetic. You'll be normal, because diabetes is not a disease. It's a toxicity. It's carbohydrate poisoning, basically. There's other things that can do it too, but your blood sugar is too high. It's the end of the story. So don't add in more sugar. Don't add fuel to the fire. Soy is horrific. That stuff is just tons of estrogen and nonsense in there, seeds and nuts and beans, tons of lectins that can kill you if you don't process them right. And yeah, tons of cyanide in seeds. Yeah, great call there. High cholesterol, according to whom? That's a value judgment. We don't have any experimental data showing that certain levels of cholesterol is good or bad. In fact, the population data shows that higher levels of cholesterol, total cholesterol, and higher LDL cholesterol is beneficial when people live longer, right? So watch my video on the truth about cholesterol and heart disease, and then my interview with Dr. Nick Norowitz, who was involved with Dave Feldman. They did the lean mass hyperresponders data. They showed people with keto carnivore diets with so-called high cholesterol for an average of 4.7 years actually had a reduction in their atherosclerosis, right? So no, this does not cause heart disease. Diabetes can. Diabetes is a major risk factor for heart disease. Diabetes doesn't come from eating meat. In fact, in the carnivore study out of Harvard with 2,000 patients, 100% of the diabetics, 100% of them came off 100% of their injectable diabetes medications and improved their blood sugar and reversed and a lot of them reversed their diabetes entirely. So your doctor means well, but that's the old propaganda that he's still, or he or she is still a victim of. And unfortunately, a lot of people are still on that. That's fine. We can forgive them their ignorance, but that's not good for you to eat a whole bunch of that garbage. You want to eat whole meats, a lot of fat and animal fats, and no sugar, no grains, and nothing on that list that your doctor told you to eat. And you'll be fine. I wouldn't worry necessarily about your cholesterol because cholesterol was a scapegoat for the sugar companies. It was never the cause of heart disease. And that's a fact. They said that, not me. It's published in the Journal of the American Medical Association in 2016. Their own internal memos detailing how they paid off 3 Harvard professors to falsify data and publish fraudulent studies to make it appear as if cholesterol caused heart disease when it's much more likely to be sugar, and then to exonerate sugar and say that it's safe. One of those professors was named head of the USDA. He was the one who authored and published the USDA declaration in the late 70s saying that cholesterol caused heart disease. Stop eating fat and cholesterol. And dietary fat and cholesterol don't raise serum cholesterol anyway. So that's useless to begin with. If you just stop eating carbohydrates, your LDL is going to go up. So stop eating for 5 days. Your LDL will go bang right up. Is that bad for you? No. Fasting has been shown to be very beneficial for cardiovascular disease and all sorts of health issues. And so, why? Well, why? Because LDL goes up. Because LDL isn't the problem. LDL doesn't cause any heart disease. It just doesn't. And so, just don't worry about that. And there's many more documents and more publications showing that, the sugar companies paid off a lot of other doctors as well, not just those from Harvard, but Ansel Keys and many, many more. And we know what they got paid. We have their contracts. At least those Harvard professors were paid $6,500. That's equivalent of $55,000 US in today's valuation. So they basically got like a mid-model, Toyota, and out of the bargain. That was worth selling out the health of the world for just a mid-size sedan. Like, great job, And I mean, what's first of all, just complete sellouts, but what a cheap date, I mean, it's just like, that's all it took. That's all it took to buy your integrity and flush the health of humanity down the drain. I mean, these guys are mass murderers, on the scale of Stalin and Mao and Hitler. They've been responsible for the death and disease of billions of people now. Billions of people around the world are listening to this terrible advice, and they're getting completely sick. They're getting diseases that have never really existed in any great number. And now they're the number one killers in the world. These non-communicable chronic diseases, which nearly didn't exist 100 years ago. Now, they're 90% of deaths in America, Australia, and Europe are from these non-communicable chronic diseases that didn't exist in any great numbers 100, 150 years ago, certainly 150 years ago. And 74% of deaths around the world, right? So what the hell is that about? So these people are responsible. They're responsible for those deaths. They're responsible for people being sick and miserable for decades and having very hard, painful lives filled of disease and dying decades early after decades of disease and hardship. They are absolutely culpable for that. And anyone who pushes that ideology knowingly is culpable for that as well. And I'm sorry, but the drug companies now and the sugar companies now, they know the history of their own companies. They damn well know. And the fact that they haven't come out and said, hey, this was bullshit. I took over as CEO and I found this out, and I am so sorry. I apologize to the world on behalf of my organization, institution, and field. But of course, they're never going to do that. They'd be out on their ass, and the shareholders would be pissed and demand their heads. So they don't. Or maybe they just don't give a shit. They work their way up there. I mean, lower down, they would have known this stuff too. You don't get to be an executive member or on the board member or CEO without knowing where the skeletons are, beforehand. So these guys are absolutely culpable, and I think they're absolutely responsible. As Callie Means, who's a whistleblower for Big Food and Big Pharma, said that they know that they're making people sick with this food, and they're profiting off of it on the back end too, because they're selling a pharmaceutical, the drugs to sort of mitigate the symptoms of these diseases. And he said, I know they know this because I've been in the boardroom meetings with them when they said it, right? So this is that's malice aforethought to me. That's that these are criminal acts at this point. And they certainly were then. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Watch my video on the truth about cholesterol and heart disease. Watch my interview with Dr. Paul Mason. Watch the videos that Dr. Paul Mason does, the different lectures that he does on cholesterol and heart disease as well. Wildly different what the actual data shows. And then you just look at the historical record and you realize that no serious scientist independently came up with the idea that cholesterol caused heart disease. It was the sugar companies who invented that idea and then found a bunch of sellout douchebags to perpetuate this and push it, like Ansel Keys and all these other guys from Harvard. And that's because there were serious scientists who independently came up with the idea that sugar was to blame for the rise in heart disease. And I think that that's true, among other things. But they got to protect. There's like the tobacco companies. They were just trying to there's studies coming out saying, atherosclerosis or smoking can cause heart disease and emphysema and cancer. What do? Well, we just got to put out studies that our studies say that it doesn't, and everything's great and everything's fine, and it makes your teeth whiter. It's just like, oh, shut up, And so and we caught them for lying. We've caught the sugar companies for lying. Why the hell is there not a reckoning for these bastards? Because they weren't necessarily caught in the act of doing it, but now they are. Now they're still lying and pushing this nonsense. So, I mean, I think there should be a congressional hearing on this. Fat chance of that, though, with all the trillions of dollars that they have at their disposal, to spend on lobbying and so on. But that is what there should be, and there should be people held criminally responsible for these actions and continued actions. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. I do have to run. I'm actually running very late. So I really appreciate it. Thank you all very much. It's great to see you all. I will see you again in 2 days for another live at the same time. It'll start at 10 a.m. Perth time, so at the same time around the world as well. And I will have a premiere going out tomorrow as well around the same time. So if people are able to join that premiere, that's really helpful. That'll be a premiere here on YouTube, and that helps the algorithm get that out to more people. And that's always helpful. It's always fun to interact and chat with people in the live. There's sort of like the chat here. There's like a live chat while you watch. And so I always get involved in that as well. And it's nice to see and chat with people in real time. So thank you all very much. It's an absolute pleasure as always, and I will see you next time.